Welcome to another episode of my Wake Up Call. This is the podcast where I find out a little bit about my guests, and then I want to find out a lot more about them. And I'm really excited about today's guest because I'm addicted to lobster. Lobster, as we used to call it in Boston. Lobster. You got lobster? And uh, and you may recognize this person or his company. And so let me tell you about Sabin Lomac. He is a native of Scarborough, Maine. Scarborough, that's SCAR, but it's Scarborough, Maine. And he's the co-founder. I'm going to start talking like a Bostonian or a Maine person here. I mean, I hope I can change because I got to talk to an adult after this. Anyway, he's the co-founder with his cousin of Cousins Maine Lobster. It's a startup food truck business. It's grown to over 50 units, includes gourmet food trucks, fast casual restaurants. And I'll tell you, they don't cheap date the lobster rolls because I've had them in Los Angeles. He graduated from Hofstra University with a degree in speech communication and rhetorical studies. But in 2012, he and his cousin, Jim Tselikis, they opened a single food truck in LA looking to bring authentic Maine lobster experience from their childhood to the West Coast. They had an amazing experience on 2012 Shark Tank that resulted in their partnering with Barbara Corcoran, and the cousins became franchising and started to bring authentic Maine lobster eats to different neighborhoods across the United States. He and his cousin worked vigorously to ensure not only the quality and consistency of their product, but they want to elevate and promote the family first ethos, which is at the core of Cousins Maine Lobster. He's also been an active member of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters for over 20 years. As both a big and little brother, I want to talk about that and your childhood experience and what that did for you. And he was awarded the National Big Brother of the Year in 2016. He's an accomplished author, whatever, and can regularly be seen on many shows, the Food Network, as a host, a guest, and judge. And most importantly, he's the proud father to his children, Enzo and
Isla.
Isla. God, you got to spell it differently for us illiterates. Welcome, Sabin. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Well, happy to have you. I only wish you didn't have that lobster in the background because now I'm going to be hungry for it, and I got to find out where your truck is going to be in the next week.
Called product placement. I am doing this on purpose. I am slowly, subliminally telling you, you need Maine lobster.
Well, maybe you need to just listen, my friend. So, Sabin, I'll ask you what I ask everyone, and then we can just run with it. If you step back and you think about what's most important to you, what's been the through line in your life? What did you notice as a child, that probably grew into you and your cousin noticing, hey, I think we could bring lobster everyone, people everywhere in the country like lobster. But answer that question, talk a little bit about your childhood experience, and please include something about being a little brother.
Sure. I think the through line, just to, what you're saying is what rings a bell to me as a young kid as to now, the thing that I have in common is hard work. I mean, I've been working hard my entire life. I've been working since I was a young kid, and I still work. I work harder right now than I ever did. I'm from a single parent, low income family in Scarborough, here in Maine. I grew up in like a little fishing community, and didn't have any brothers or sisters. Didn't know my father too well. My parents were never married, and I quickly learned at a young age that if you want things, or if you want nice things, you need to work for them, and you need to go get them yourself. So My first job was at the clam bake right around the corner. I've had probably 50 jobs in this town alone because I was at times a really terrible worker. But I just, I knew that I had to go get whatever I wanted in life and that things weren't going to be handed to you. Um, I, at times, got in a lot of trouble when I was a kid. There were times when I was in jail, 13, 14, 15. I was on a 2-year wait list for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and my mom had signed me up hoping that I'd find a male mentor that could resonate with me. Thankfully, there was a young man. He was 22 at the time. He's from New Jersey, and he was at the laundromat doing laundry. Read the penny saver, signed up. He was in the Coast Guard at the time. He's now a decorated Marine, and he called, and I was matched with him, and he really helped me. He was like the first person that I could see that was actually that I could resonate with. I could talk about girls and drinking and drugs or whatever was on my mind. And he came to all my games. I was a really good athlete. Came to all my games. It had a huge impact on me. So I attribute a lot of my early success and hard work to him because he taught me a lot, and I actually listened. But anyway, I worked hard, put myself through college, worked my ass off, and I've always just tried new things. I've never been scared to try to go, throw as many things at the dartboard as I possibly can. And my cousin Jimmy and he came out to visit a girl, 12 years ago, 13 years ago to LA. We were out drinking one night, he and I said, shit, we should work together. We should do something fun together. What would we do? And we just kind of kept talking. And the one thing that we came back to was the lobster, right? Which was our childhood, one of the things that is a staple in our community, and how it kind of brought our family together, and how all of our family gatherings kind of always had lobster there. So maybe we should bring lobster to LA. Do you think people would like it? Maybe yes, no, yes, no. And so we decided to do something about it. And I think most people have these ideas, and most people don't do anything with their ideas. As we've learned, is they are dissuaded. We worked on the idea for about 14 months, and we didn't tell anyone, not our mothers or sisters or brothers, anyone, best friends, because we didn't want any negativity. I told my friends about a week before, I'm opening a food truck. They're like, what the hell do you know about food? And this is, keep in mind, 11 years ago when food trucks weren't as popular. And, so what was the tangible kind of thing that I did when I was 12 or 13 or 15 or 18 or 22 or 30 or 42 now? I worked my ass off, and I didn't let people tell me what I could or couldn't do. I didn't allow anyone to put limitations on me. I still try to not put them on myself. And I've learned the more that you can do that, the higher you can dream, and you will achieve those things if you actually go after them. So long-winded way of kind of giving you the backdrop on my childhood. And now being a dad is a dream. I was a big brother to I mentor young children, and we mentor kids all the time. People reach out to us all the time because I think they look at Jimmy and I as these kind of blue collar kids that they can relate to, as opposed to maybe a Mark Cuban who is, reached a certain echelon that sometimes we feel like we can't relate to, or we can't ever become. We speak to children via Zoom all the time in schools across the country. And my message to them all the time is to dream as big as they possibly can, and to believe in themselves and not listen to anyone else. Because I feel like a lot of naysayers will slow you down.
So, do you have a pencil? I want to give you a quote that you're going to like, and you're going to give it to other people.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I got it right here. I don't have a pencil though, but I have
Okay,
a shiny.
you'll remember it because it's memorable.
Yep.
When someone says no to you, it doesn't mean you're wrong or you shouldn't do something. It just means they won't help you.
Yep.
When someone says no to you, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something or you're wrong. It just means they won't help you. Because you're right. There's a
Yeah, and by help you, it's not. It's even more of just a emotional help too. It's more than anything where it's like I'm not. Oftentimes we ask people for things because we subliminally want their reassurance, and we believe that we need reassurance So if you get you're not reassured and you doubt your idea, and then thus you might not move forward with it. And I'm sure if I told you that I was going to sell fresh Maine lobster off a food truck 11 or 12 years ago, you might not have been as enthusiastic. It doesn't sound as appealing. It doesn't sound really appealing, truthfully, even right now. Food, there's just this thing. Um, but the truth is it was a really, really good idea. And who knew? And so I think we kind of just, that's what we tell kids is like, you never know. I don't know. Just go do something.
So do me a favor, unpack the experience with your big brother
Yep.
and a feeling of his belief, so you didn't really have a dad, and
Correct.
what the feeling was like that he believed in you, that he supported you, and and do you think that had an effect on the part of you that had been angry and acted out? Why should I care about the world because nobody cares about me and blah 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 blah. And can you unpack that? Because I want our listeners to really know the power of you know finding someone that believes in you and thinks you can do anything.
Yeah. My big brother's name's Stephen Lacavera. He has a really, and he's an amazing man, right? And the more that I learn about him as a grown man now, as a parent, I'm more in awe of him. But he he was present for me, and I think the first thing that children need is presence. Um, Not oftentimes a lot more than that. Just showing up, just going to games, go out for pizza. We'd have a steak and cheese sandwich. I mean, little things that I remember. We're now what, 30 years in mental math. Yeah, for about 30 years. Very simple things, but I began to trust him over time, and began to, young men or young women need mentorship. They need people that they can speak to, and that they can. I couldn't talk to my mom about 99% of this stuff, nor did I want to. So, I was listening to rap music because I resonated with what the rappers were saying, what Tupac was saying. He's talking about, a lot of things that I could relate to. So without a really good male influence, you start teetering towards things that you, especially at a young age, that you admire or idolize. And I didn't have too many other people to admire or idolize. So he was a great figure for me to show stability, to show um, belief in me, to reassure me that I'm awesome, to smack me upside the head when I needed it. When I played sports, I was a gritty competitor, but I had a chip on my shoulder, which helped me. But he oftentimes would kind of like challenge that chip, and maybe channel it in different ways. He was present more than anything. I can just say presence, and I think that is a really, when we talk to people about being mentors, they sometimes think they're not qualified. They're like, well, I don't know how to deal with kids. I don't know how to do it. What will I do? And it's like, just show up. A lot of these kids just need someone to show up and talk to them. So he really just, he was there for me and allowed me to be myself, let down my guard, showed me a different way, encouraged me, and he didn't push stuff on me because people like me don't like being pushed. He didn't say you have to do it this way and you need to do this. He let me fail too. And then when I failed with my tail between my leg, he said, "Well, I kind of told you not to do that, but all right, let's try again." Um, which is smart, and he still does that. But I was the best man in his wedding.
Mm.
He named his son after me. Anthony Sabin Lacavera. He named his son. We're very, very close, and you know, 30 years later, yeah, it's over 30, about 30 years. And it sticks with me nowadays, just the notion of giving back. And I do that with my staff. I think my staff respects me so much because I'm very kind to them and I'm very encouraging with them. And I oftentimes see things in them that they don't see in themselves. And so I encouraged them. We have a lot of young staff members here in their 20s. And I'm like, you're amazing at what you do. Go, you're a star. Go, and you don't know how much positive reinforcement, how far it goes. And a lot of times people don't get that from their parents. They don't get it from teachers. They don't get it from anyone. And when you unlock that, it's amazing what they can do. And I know from myself, once I unlocked like my any inhibitions, I'm amazing. I'm really, really good. And I'm just tenacious. I'm good. I'm good. But if I kept this lid on myself, I wouldn't be. And so a lot of kids just have people have lids on and they need to get them taken off. And so that's what he provided for me, I think, the most.
Yeah, I want to emphasize something because this is a conversation I sometimes talk to the listeners. Um, I want to emphasize something Sabin said about presence, and something else that he sort of said, but he didn't say, is when someone inconveniences themselves to be there for you,
Yeah.
when they show up at your game, and it may not consciously register, but if you're thinking of mentoring, or if you're a leader or a manager, it's not only the just showing up, but you actually prioritize them and gave them the gift of your time. There's an organization that I sometimes volunteer at called Defy Ventures. And Defy Ventures goes into prisons and teaches prisoners entrepreneurship. And many of these prisoners will never get out of prison, but it teaches them how to think responsibly, how to plan. And there's a 3-month thing where the volunteers talk to them about what business would you create. And then there's a 6-month meeting where they do a Shark Tank, where they pitch what they've created, and the volunteers meet with 3 at a time. And there's usually about 50 prisoners that show up. But getting back to what you're saying is, it's rare that if you're a volunteer that you go to the same prison for both the first time and the second time. There's lots of prisons and you volunteer. And I remember I went to one prison, a maximum security prison, and I went there at the 3-month mark and then at the 6-month mark, and they do a graduation with caps and gowns, and they get something called a Baylor University Career Readiness degree. And it's not worth anything except their self-esteem. But I'll never forget that when I came back for the 6-month thing, the prisoners came up to me and they said, "You came back." I mean, they were just so appreciative. You came back. We meant enough to you, not only to just do it on a one-time thing and get back to your busy life, but you came back. And also, I'll tell you, if you're thinking of mentoring, and Sabin's going to reinforce this, you get much more out of it as the mentor than the mentee.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. So I just wanted to emphasize that because everything he says is true. Just the showing up for them when in their lives nobody showed up for them. When they saw other kids looking and seeing a dad, and they look on the bench and they see nothing.
Yep.
So I just want to take a moment because I think Big Brothers and Big Sisters it's a tremendous organization. So take us back to your journey and here's something that I do when and the name of your book is.
It's Cousins Maine Lobster. It's all about how we got started, Cousins Maine Lobster, how we built a food truck to be a multi-million-dollar business. So it's really, really blue collar stories of how we built a company. And again, I think it resonates with people because it's not anything that's too, we didn't overthink it too much. most of the decisions and answers are pretty simple and easy to grasp, and it reinforces people to go, oh, I could do that. And that's the goal.
So whenever someone's an author, I I give them a challenge uh, to sell more books. Uh, I think readers, and I think even listeners to podcasts, hopefully this podcast, what readers are reading for and what listeners are listening for that grabs their attention is, I never would have thought of that ever. And that relates to my life. Not only does it relate to my life, it's something I could do. So given that, you're wanting to appeal to people who are blue collar, who never thought of themselves as entrepreneurs, can you whet their appetite and my appetite saying, well, here's something that they may never have thought of that they'll get out of the book and, from getting to know our company. So can you lay a couple of those on us?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you just a couple examples of some of the decisions that we've made and where our mentality was when making them, and then you can then see the takeaway. So I'll give you a couple examples. Like we decided on the color of our truck, first truck, which we now have over 50, to be black. The reason why we thought that it should be black is because we're both big sports fans. We're athletic. And we thought that black jerseys really stood out. They looked different. They looked kind of tough, but they were memorable. That was it. That's the logic. That's the case study. That's why. Fast forward, our trucks are some of the most best looking but memorable visions of trucks. People always say, "Oh, you're the black. Oh yeah, that's the black one. That's this one." We said Cousins Maine Lobster is the name of the business. Pretty simple. Cousins, we're two cousins. What are we serving? Maine lobster. That's it. Single, bing, bong, done. We would only serve the best Maine lobster. We kept a small menu. Why? Because we thought when we go to places and the menu's too big, we get confused, and oftentimes it's not that good. When we go to a hamburger stand that only has 3 things, we assume usually that the burger is going to be awesome. It's going to be memorable. It's going to be the best. So that's why we kept a small menu. I told you when we opened, we didn't tell anyone. When we opened our first truck, we sat outside of the food truck and we shook everyone's hand and thanked them for coming. Most of the people said, God, I've never even met the owner of a food truck. They're always inside cooking. And we were kind of dumbfounded. We're like, well, Jesus, are we doing something wrong? We want to be outside, because where we're from, you thank people for going, you tap them on the shoulder, you say, appreciate your business. It was that kind of like blue collar, small town hospitality that we thought would resonate with people. And I'll give you one other example, which has proven to be the biggest one, is our motto at our company is family first. And we always tell people, treat everyone as if you would treat every customer as if you would treat your mother if they were your mom. Treat every customer as if they were your mom. So when you walk up to the window to order a lobster roll, my mom, who's 79, she'd panic when she got to the front and she'd forget her order for sure. She'd get flustered. And we have a little iPad on the outside that shows your order, that you put your credit card in and use your gratuity. She wouldn't know what the hell she was doing. She'd get all messed up, and then she'd feel bad, and there'd be a line, and she'd get anxious, and the whole shebang. So I'd want that person in the window to be really patient and kind with her. I want them to say thank you, because her lunch order was $42. That's expensive for lunch. And I'd want him to represent who Jimmy and I, which are undoubtedly mama's boys. We want them to, we want those people to, we want my mom to walk away feeling like not only she got a good roll, but she got good service. She got taken care of. Not stuffy service, but good, kind service. So we've preached this for 11 years. And what we found is, although we doubted it many times, wondering if we bit off more than we can chew, is you can actually achieve these things. Your company can stand for that, even when you are a big business. We've done over company-wide, I don't know, $500-600 million in sales. You still can achieve that and still have those touches if that's important to you. So all of our franchisees, we bring to Maine before they open. They meet our families. They go on lobster boats. They catch lobsters. They hold them with their hands. They smell the ocean air. They see how small this little town is. We make them do things before they can open and make money because we want them to really understand how special it is that they're doing. This isn't a trinket that you're just selling or a frozen burger. And we really preach kindness in the family first ethos. So all those examples I say to you because they're not really that genius. They're not really like that. I mean, not that smart of a guy. I'm just a guy that when I believe something, I really hammer it home and I don't give up on it. And whether it's the black truck or whether it's the family first there's just simple things. So if a listener is listening to me, the goal is for you not to walk away and go, wow, that guy was saying so many things that are over my head. I can't resonate to anything that guy's saying. It's hopefully you listen and you go, yeah, all right. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Well, that was pretty easy. It wasn't that hard. And of course, life and business and success is hard and it's been not easy. But we oftentimes overthink it and we oftentimes think that we aren't capable of making such decisions because we don't have the chops. And that's absolutely not true. So if you think I have the chops, which people now do, know that I didn't have the chops at one point and I was winging it. And I still am winging it. And if you come from a good place and a good space, you'll succeed. So that'd be my message to them. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to go do a case study for all the answers. Your case study is just your body of work in your life.
That was amazing.
Long-winded answer? Jesus, that was a long answer.
Well, I'm going to have a long-winded response because this is a conversation. It's not just an interview. And I'm going to convince you that your instincts have genius. So are you open to my showing you the genius of what you just said?
Sure. Yeah, I am.
Black trucks, something I've talked about on the podcast, is a concept called mental real estate. And mental real estate means when you do something that's familiar to people, you get into their brains, and then when you repurpose it, you have more mental real estates. So a friend of mine taught me this concept who designed Disney Paris and Disney Tokyo. And he said, Pirates of the Caribbean owns the word pirates in the minds of kids. So yep. Disney owns pirates. Black trucks, black athletic uniforms. The mental real estate is it really impressed on you. There was something that stood out about black uniforms versus white uniforms. So you had an instinct for mental real estate and you added that to your trucks. In terms of the menu, there's a great documentary that I mentioned on the podcast called Mr. Rogers and Me. And it's not any of the famous ones. It's about a late 30-something person who lived next to them on Nantucket. And he got to know Mr. Rogers after he retired and then interviewed people who worked with Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers was the real deal for kindness. And one of the things that Mr. Rogers was inspired by was a book from, I think, either a pastor or someone like that. And what Mr. Rogers would say is, better to be deep and simple than shallow and complicated. So your menu is deep and simple, deep in that it touches deeply into someone who loves lobster, simple because they want to know that there's quality there. And if you have a menu that has everything, I mean, if you're in Los Angeles and you go to some of these delicatessens that have gone out of business, they had 8-page menus.
Right.
Yeah. And the food could be okay, but it just flooded you. It wasn't deep and simple. And then the third concept, and something when I used to speak, I don't go out and speak now. I do Zoom calls. Happy to do one for your people if you think they'd like this. So my book, Just Listen, became the top book on listening in the world. And I spoke in Moscow about 5 years ago. And something I've been trying to teach people is that underneath people listening to you, they're always listening for something that they may not be aware of. And if you know that people are always listening and you get what they're listening for
Mm.
and you give it to them, they'll lean towards you. So you were able to listen for what people liked in service. You were able to listen for what your mom would like.
Yeah.
You were able to listen for, and I like the way you said it, people have never met someone who works in a food truck. They stay in the food truck, you hear sounds and you take the payment. You can sort of see them through the screen. They accept your credit card. You never see them. But instinctively, probably because of growing up where you did, and they're they're forming a relationship with us. And I think they're not only looking for a good meal, but they'd probably like us to come out and thank them. I mean, they gave us the gift of their money. I mean, that's and we want to be successful, and they don't even expect it. They don't expect someone to come out there and be grateful. So I hope that helps. But that's, your instincts are very bright and smart, and I just wanted to add that to you, to see if that helped you enrich what you already know.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And absolutely. I think we have had good instincts. Um, and it's like, for instance, our marketing material right now is very targeted. We know that we push the word family business, we showcase it. And the words tradition, we call our food an affordable luxury, because it is, right? You think of Maine lobster, you think of champagne, caviar, I mean, all the nice things. But to make it affordable, um, and to make it accessible without having to go to a white tablecloth dinner is something that we've done. We were the first people to pioneer and do that. But we learned that the people really resonate well to our family message. And that's why we promote it no more. But far before we knew what we were promoting, we just did it because it was authentic and it was us. Now I'll show more photos of our family and our business and me and Jimmy as a kid and my aunt and my mom and this and that, because people like that. And people like supporting people who A, come from family businesses in small towns, but B, that value the word family. Because nowadays, boy, it feels like our world is, going one way. It's nice to see some of the old traditional things like family and kindness and empathy being exhibited in a pretty high profile business. So we were doing a lot of these things before we knew that people would like them, is my way of saying it. We do it now tactically because we know it works. But we were doing it just because we thought that was the right thing to do. And then we realized, oh shit, this people like that. Turns out, oh. And you opened it up by saying, hey, I used to, you're from Boston, my kids went to camp in Maine and this and that. We have spoken to so many thousands and thousands of people of the exact same story. I used to go to Maine, I used to do this, and my kids did it when I went to school. And our food is a taste memory food. Our food
Hmm.
is a treat. Our food is not an everyday food. We don't have this 2-3 times a week. It's a luxury. It's a treat. It's, oh, that one time when I was there, and oh, every summer we used to do that, and my aunt used to do this, or I used to do, like, it's that. And every time people eat it, it's almost like they can go back in time to that moment, whether they were a kid and they were at camp, or they went to college in Boston and used to travel up with their girlfriend, whatever it is. We have a very nostalgic taste memory food. It's different. It's different than tacos or burgers. So once you understand that, you can really appeal to people and make them feel even more special, because it is a special thing. And that's like it's the fun part.
Um, I think you should emphasize taste memory, that term.
Yep.
It is so powerful. And I think it opens the door. Like with one of my grandchildren, she's 2 and I'm playing Candyland with her.
Yeah.
And game memory. I mean, I didn't even I just remembered it. I didn't know how to play it where you pick out the color cards and you move it around. But I think there's something so evocative about taste memory. Also, I'll give you another. Is it okay if I give you another? Do you mind my giving you concepts that we're covering here without you
Love
knowing?
it. No, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a term called sense of coherence. And I think it was originated by this philosopher, Thich Nhat Jung. I think he died in the past couple of years. And sense of coherence means that when the world or your life is confusing and you see something or you experience something that makes something that was confusing understandable. Oh, that's understandable.
Mm.
It causes people to think, oh, it's more manageable. Oh, I don't feel so out of control. And then the third element, it's meaningful. Like this, this taps into something that matters to me. And taste memory triggers a sense of coherence in all of those. It's so understandable. I mean, when you just said that, I'm just thinking of going to Maine. I'm just thinking of when we went to Sebago Lake, and I'm thinking that it was a real treat to have lobster then. And I'm already remembering the roller skating rink that we went to. I haven't thought of that in 50 years.
There
So
you
so
go.
so the memory is just huge, and it makes life more manageable because when I look out at the world and everything is just so driven by excitement, it's an oasis,
Yeah.
and and then it's meaningful because you just hit into my childhood and with this evocative memory. So I just wanted to share that with you that uh, I don't think you know it, but you're a blue collar philosopher.
Like that.
What and something else that I think is special about you. If someone asked me, tell us about Sabin, I'd say he has an incredible bullshit meter, and he can really sense puffery for the sake of puffery,
For sure.
and and because of that, he can really appreciate real for the sake of real.
Absolutely.
Uh, Here's a thought to give your people. I don't see this going out in your marketing message, but your people might like it. Uh, I think if you could describe your company to your people internally is the gift that we give our customers is value and values. That would look good on your website, but value is, lobster is really valuable. You don't cheap date them with crappy lobster,
Right.
runny, soggy crap. And then your values, family first. You know, when the Surgeon General recently said we're getting killed from loneliness. Loneliness is creating disease. So, I mean, you are a walking, and you can say, well, look, I owe it to my upbringing. I never gave up. My mother, my mentor, but you're terrific.
And as you said that, I appreciate the compliments, but I think we owe a lot of it to, the state of Maine and what the people in Maine stand for. And that was a really big part of when we went on Shark Tank, more than anything, getting a deal, getting money, this and that. We wanted to represent the state of Maine well. We wanted people in Maine to go, all right, those guys are cool. All right. The worst thing was we could have lost their respect. And so the way to lose people's respect where we're from is to shortcut the process, to cheapen the lobster, to say this is Maine lobster and have it be a subpar product. That would be the biggest slap in the face for the hardworking people here in Maine. That that this is a huge part of our economy. So when you talk about the value and what we stand for, we stand for what, people in the state stand for, which is hard work. And the worst thing is if you saw our shiny black truck and you saw us on TV and you waited in a long line and you said, "Oh, it's Sebago Lake, I remember," and you got it and it was mediocre, you would feel so deceived. And especially if you had East Coast or Maine ties, you'd be like, this is complete bullshit. This is a scam. And you would have passion behind it. I'm so mad. As opposed to you just getting a bad hamburger. What the hell? It's a hamburger. But you'd be really mad. Like, these guys are bullshitting people. You can't do that with what we're doing. You can't be inauthentic. You have to be real. And so that's also allowed us to grow and become so successful, because other people that have tried to copy us have been inauthentic. Can't do it. Not with this.
So you should approach the capital of Maine,
Augusta.
Augusta, and you should say our new motto should be work hard and be real. Because you just gave me, because I grew up in Boston,
Yep.
You just gave me a new appreciation for the state of Maine, and I'm going to share with you what it is, because my mind's a little bit wacko if you haven't noticed.
I like it.
Maine. We're too busy hardworking to have an inferiority complex like the rest of the states in New England. Massachusetts is, MIT, Harvard, all that sort of stuff. Oh, so intellectual. Connecticut is kind of between Massachusetts and New York and is trying to figure itself out. Vermont is really nice, but it's a little bit frou-frou with all those stow and ski kind of things and all the nouveau riche going up there from New York. New Hampshire is just stuck in granite. And Rhode Island is this little piece of island between, Massachusetts and Connecticut. Doesn't even know if it's a real state, and we're just frickin' Maine. we just do our thing, and we try to be for real. But I just have this picture of all those states, and I got to go visit Maine again, because it just, of all the states, you are for real in New England. There's not posturing.
No,
It's
really authentic. It really is special. It's hard, it's hard when you come, and you spend time here. So many of the things that exist in other states just simply aren't even here. It's almost like you're going back in time. There's just so many things that are just simply non-existent. It's just not even a part of it. And on the opposite, there are so many things here that are existent that are no longer existent in other places. Most notably, a handshake, your word, kindness, simplicity, those things, honesty, being a good neighbor, those things that are just, kind of obvious, they're lost in most places. When we come here and I bring my children and my wife and we sit down at Becky's Diner in Portland, and the waitress says, "Hey, what are you guys up to today?" And we're coming from LA, first, fucking, what the hell do you care what the hell we're doing, is what I'm thinking. Find your own fucking business, But I realize she's just genuinely asking. She genuinely wants to know what I'm doing. And I tell her, and she says, "Oh yeah, that's a great. You should go there and then try the children's museum is awesome on Thursdays. They do an art class." My wife's writing art class. Thank you. I'm just trying to make your day better, and that's something that Maine has, on top of a really good breakfast.
So I want to check something out, because I didn't check your episode on Shark Tank. I'm going to, but I used to watch it somewhat, and I sort of know the panelists.
Yep.
And I'm imagining you and Jim there, and you're presenting your business and, and the projections. But I can imagine it's almost like The Voice, that the four of them are watching you, and that what they're internally thinking is, oh my effing God, these guys are for real. I mean, it's not just lobster, but these guys are the real deal. And that's so refreshing. I have a feeling we could actually trust them because it doesn't feel like they're doing anything excessive to impress us.
Right.
Do you think that's accurate, that might have been their impression of you?
I mean, I definitely think for Barbara, who's our partner, that was her impression. Um, we keep in mind we went on Shark Tank about 2.5 months after launching.
Right.
First night we opened, one of the producers happened to be there. This was 11 years ago. She shot us an email that night, so we got home after our first event. We were thinking we were going to sell 37 lobster rolls. We were hoping to break even. We did like $6,000 in sales. We knew we immediately we had something huge. We were counting 6,000 cash on my 1-bedroom apartment coffee table. Jim's supposed to go back to Boston the next day. He's got a job. We're going, what the hell is going on? Jesus, what do we have here? And we get an email from Shark Tank. So anyway, 2 months later, we go on. I think that they looked at us. We'd only been open 2 months. So the biggest gripe was, how are you coming up with a valuation for a business you've only been open 2 months? That all being said, we prepared very well for the show. We often tell this story to people. We watched about 50 episodes. We made those index cards and we wrote questions because each shark had commonly asked questions on one side, and the other side we'd write our answer, and we'd quiz ourselves. We go on runs in the neighborhood, we jog, we do pushing, jumping jacks because we wanted to make sure we were prepared. And we pretended to be the other sharks. So when we went on the episode, we knew the answers to the questions they asked before the words came out of their mouth. So we prepared and we handled ourselves well. So to answer your question, I think that they looked at us and probably more than anything saw our composure.
And they saw you were prepared. You were prepared too. Yeah.
You're prepared, as opposed to now. I think they'd look at us differently. I don't think we had the chops necessarily back then because we were so young, but we really prepared well, and hence why we got a deal. It was a huge deal for us.
Yeah. I want to run something by you and see how it lands, because and maybe there's something we can do together. But again, I'm just interviewing. Oh, here's my pitch. You can be the Shark Tank person, okay? I want you to have your arms say, okay, here it comes. He was such a good interviewer. Now what's this bullshit he's going to pitch us? You know a little bit about my background about, wanting to help the state of sadness in the world. So before the pandemic, I did a TEDx talk called What Made You Smile Today? Mm-hmm. And it's what made you smile today. And we started a movement, #WMYST. And I talked about a friend of mine whose daughter was a drug addict, and she was always manipulating him. And so he would just text her every day at 5 and say, hey, honey, it's Dad. What made you smile today? And after 3 months, and she tried to manipulate him, and he said, no more money for drug treatment. He just did it every day. And then after a few months, she texted back and said, knowing that you would text me. Mm. And he cried, and it changed their relationship. And she was off drugs in a couple of months. Mm. So we started a movement where we have these bracelets, #WMYST. And the idea is that anytime someone serves you, they have a name tag, but they often don't have a face because they're just a function. But they have a name tag. And the movement was that anytime someone serves you and you see a name tag, or you can say, what's your name? You say, hey, John, my name's Mark. Thank you. I have a question for you. No, you're not in any trouble. What made you smile today? But you have to say it like you mean it. And what happens is, in 90% of the cases, people pause, they look up to think about what it is, they come back, and their eyes are different because it's no longer a transaction. Mm-hmm. and they look at you. And I did this. We turned in a car a month ago, and the person was really helpful to me. And she was African American, and not that that matters. And I said, Mary, great job. Thank you. Oh, I have a question for you. No, no, you're not in any trouble. What made you smile today? And it's kind of fresh, so I might get a little emotional. She looked at me. She looked up and she said, I've been having a bad couple days. Every break I have, I go and cry in the bathroom. And this morning I called my dad and my grandpa. And 15 minutes later, they came in here. And I'm feeling better. It made my day.
Yeah.
So we were thinking of revving it back up. We thought it was a little too insensitive during the pandemic. What made you smile today? Oh, I didn't catch COVID. But we're just thinking that, and it's different than asking someone what they're grateful for.
Yeah.
Because when you say to someone, what are you grateful for? Many people think you're shaming them. Oh, you think I should be more grateful? But what made you smile today is easy in, easy out. You cause them to think about it. And then when they look at you, their eyes are different. In fact, I'm going to do that next time I eat from one of your cousins' trucks. I don't know if I can see the name of them, and I'll say, what's your name? Thank you. Johnny, I have a question for you. What made you smile today? So I think it could touch a nerve, but anyway, I just wanted to pitch it to you, Barbara.
I like it. I think it lowers everyone's guard, and it gives them a break from the day and from the world and from the stress. And it allows people to also reflect on what genuinely made them smile and why they're doing it all. I think that's a big thing is we just go so fast now. Life is so fast, especially with all the social media and just the speed that we oftentimes miss why the hell we're even doing it. And usually we're doing it for the reasons that you said. What made you smile? It was me. I talked to my son and my wife on the phone today. It made me smile.
Oh,
That's why
wow.
I'm doing it. So, that's why I'm just talking to them for 2 minutes while he was on the way to school. It was awesome.
I can see it in your head right now. You're just saying that. I can feel how that made you smile. Here's the power of it, and then you'll tell people how they can find you. Yeah. So in the TEDx talk, I talk about this fellow in India, and I'm a little bit disorganized, meaning I'll forget to return an email from a Fortune 500 CEO. But if something moves me about someone who's homeless in India, I might respond to it. So his name was Arul, and we had an email exchange. And I said, oh, Arul, I have a question for you. What made you smile today? So picture this, poor guy, you don't know. He writes back, no one as important as you has ever typed my name. So every day I wake up and touch where you typed my name. That changed his life.
Yeah.
And little does he know I'm not that important. Anyway, but thank you. Where can people find out more about Cousins Maine Lobsters?
Yeah. I mean, internet, at social media, you can go to Instagram, Cousins Maine Lobster, our website, cousinsmainelobster.com. Find us in a city near you. We also ship overnight from our shore to your door, right? So you can place an order today and have all of our lobster delivered to your house tomorrow. Cousins Maine Lobster, and I'm Sabin Lomac. So I'm here, and I appreciate your time. This is an awesome interview.
What did you say about affordable luxury?
It's an affordable luxury. It's exactly that.
So if you're listening in, I think an affordable luxury is a way to treat yourself to something. It'll do this. If you're near a truck, go to the truck, have them ship it to you, and And imagine Mr. Rogers is saying, I'm giving you this because you're special.
That's it. You deserve it. You
You,
say you deserve it.
you deserve it. And we like you just the way you are.
There you go. There you go.
Anyway, thanks so much. And to our listeners, thank you. And this whet my appetite for lobster. So I know where I'm going this weekend. Take care, everyone.